Yeah, I think our main battery has finally bit the dust, and more than likely our auxiliary one is going out as well. And I have to say that when it first happened, it was quite a surprise. I mean, there was no telltale signs, no struggling of the engine to start, no dimming of the lights, just everything was working 1 minute and the next, nothing. Fortunately, when it did happen, this little guy got us home. This is a Type S jump starter that I bought on Amazon, and as you can see, it is super compact. Can double as a portable power bank, can wirelessly charge a phone, and it can even act as a flashlight. The best part about this thing is that you don't need anybody to help you jumpstart your Jeep. I should note that this thing charges up using a standard USB cable, and when you push the power button and see these 4 blue lights illuminated, it's good to go. From here, all we need to do is open up this rubber port, take our cable and plug it in, then take the red clamp and attach it to the positive terminal, the black clamp onto the negative terminal, and then all you need to do is start the engine. Just like that. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but this thing is actually beeping right now, and you can see the lights are flashing. This indicates that everything is ready to be disconnected. And so long as you have at least 3 of these blue dots illuminated, you can keep on starting engines. At only $67, a jump starter like this one made by Type S is definitely a must-have for every Jeep owner, especially if you do any traveling alone. But this jump starter isn't the reason why we're making this video today. While the jump starter was able to get us home, the battery simply isn't holding a charge anymore. So today, I'm going to show you how to replace the main battery on a Jeep JL Wrangler, and maybe more importantly, how to replace the smaller auxiliary battery as well. For the main battery, I decided to use the opportunity to upgrade to an Odyssey. Now, Odysseys aren't exactly the cheapest batteries in the world, but I've been using them for years on all my Jeeps, and they do a great job of handling heavy loads, like from winching and from using a lot of accessories like a refrigerator, auxiliary lights, or what have you. For the small auxiliary battery, what can I say? Beggars can't be choosers, and I just got whatever I could, and this one happens to be a Super Start Platinum that I bought over at O'Reilly's. To make this job easier, I personally always like to start by opening up the hood all the way. Okay, so now we can remove the main battery, and for that, all you're going to need is a 10mm socket. So to begin, we're going to go ahead and loosen up this nut securing the negative lead to the battery. Pull this up and out of the way. And then we're going to repeat the process on the positive. But before you can pull up the positive lead, there is a plastic tab on the back side of this connection that you're going to have to pull away a bit before you can pull it up and off. Now you can't really see it, and I'll show it to you in just a second. It is kind of a pain and not really needed. Oh, I think I might have just broken it. Yeah, here it is. You can see there's this little hook piece right here that was attached to the bottom of the battery edge, and it was connected back here like that. But it's really not needed, so I'm just going to leave this off anyway. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab an extension to finish things up. So the next step is to actually remove the foot clamp that's securing the battery in place, and you can see it down here. This right here is the foot clamp, and this is the bolt that I need to remove. Now we can remove the battery cover, set that aside, and finally we can grab the handles and lift this thing up and out. I should note that these batteries weigh about 50 pounds, a little bit more, so watch your back. So what we just did was the easy part. Now it's time to take on the auxiliary battery, and unfortunately, it's buried beneath this guy. This right here is known as the power distribution center, or what some people refer to as the PDC, or even fuse box. And to begin, we're going to go ahead and remove the cover by pushing these two tabs and lifting up. And then these 4 bolts right here will need to come off using a 7mm socket. Next, we're going to use a flathead screwdriver to help separate the PDC from its cradle. And as you can see here, there are these 2 large tabs, and there are actually a couple located on the back as well. And what we're going to do is just separate it a little bit and pull up like that. And then we're going to do the same on the back. Now this whole thing should lift up, and these plugs were originally held in by these screws or the bolts. There's still a couple still attached here. Loosen that up. So just gonna pull these up. Okay, so you may or may not be able to see it, but there are 2 nuts right here that are going to require a 10mm socket to extract, and there is a 7mm socket you're going to need for that bolt right there. Switch up to the 10. Okay. Now the tray should be able to come right out. So this PDC that keeps on dropping down in my face is getting really annoying, so I'm going to go ahead and hook up a bungee cord just to hold it up and out of the way. There, now I can see what I'm doing. All right, last but not least, there are these 4 bolts that you see right here, and they're securing the cover for the auxiliary battery, and we're going to use a 10mm socket to pull them out now. Moment of truth. Let's see if I can get these things out of the way. I'll grab this, pull it up, and now you can see the auxiliary battery. And that took effort to get to. Okay, so now I just need to go ahead and remove these 2 nuts, and then we can pull the battery out and replace it. Okay, again using a 10mm socket. Okay. All right, now we can pull this guy out. Whew, what a pain. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take this cover off, set this down, pop this guy in. So as you can see, our new battery doesn't have any studs coming out of the terminals. So I'm going to go ahead and recycle the ones out of the factory. And in order to do that, we're going to use an E6 star bit, kind of like a reverse Torx. And we're going to go ahead and extract that now. All right, from here all we need to do is reverse pretty much everything we just did. But I think these little plastic caps can come off. Not real necessary. All right, get these guys out of the way. And try I know that was a little hard to see. There, that's a better view. I just dropped in the new battery, the auxiliary battery. What I have to do is reconnect the cables. Now we can go ahead and place this cover back on. So this is going to take a little effort, but we're going to go ahead and reinstall the PDC tray. These two studs need to fit through these two holes, so that's really what you're going to be working with. There's one, there's two. Want to make sure all the wiring harnesses get fed through these holes. From here, all these plugs need to be snapped into place. Just like that. And then we can go ahead and reinstall the PDC. Okay. Make sure everything snaps into place. And then using a 7mm socket again, we're going to go ahead and tighten these guys down. Toward the end, you want to use a hand ratchet so you don't overdo it. You just need to go tight enough so it stops, and that sucks in that plug right into the PDC. Cover back on. All right, on the home stretch now. I should point out that the Odyssey battery that I have here is actually a little bit shorter in length anyway compared to the factory battery, but you want to make sure it's oriented properly with the positive terminal closest to the firewall, negative toward the front of the Jeep. And if you look down in here into the battery tray, you can see on the back there's actually a cleat both here and here. So as you set this battery in, just want to make sure that it's shoved back and over to the side. And then we can take our clamp, foot clamp, set it in place, and then secure it in place with a 10mm socket. Now we can pull this cover off, reattach the positive terminal, pull off this sleeve, and we can go ahead and connect the negative. Okay, that's on tight. This is on tight as well. And just like that, we're done. Whew, it's a little hot. Let's start the engine, see if it works. Okay. Ta-da! Everything works. Everything works. I should actually note that one of the reasons why I knew that the auxiliary battery might be going out as well is because in addition to the engine not being able to crank or start up the engine, that is, I still had lights on, but we were getting weird signals on the EVIC, one of which said something about the auxiliary switches weren't working because the battery was charging. This is even after I pulled out the main battery. Also, maybe even more importantly, the transmission, the prindle that you see on the transmission right here, wasn't lit up. And on the EVIC, I got a secondary error that said something to the effect service shifter. Now, I talked to one of my good friends over at FCA, and he did confirm with me that the auxiliary battery, if it is showing low voltage or is dead, it'll cause weird things like that to happen. Everything's working right now. So changing out the auxiliary battery and the main battery fixed all our problems. And there you have it. I hope this video was helpful to you. All right, we got here chicken, new toy. We're gonna give it to Ripley, see how she reacts to it. Ooh, startled you.